Diary entry, February the 21st, 2016. David Clark. I arrived at Heathrow by National Express coach at 12:30 p.m. My flight was due to fly at 5 p.m. from Heathrow Airport. I went to book in at the flight terminal at 2 p.m, but could not do so as I did not have the visa entry permit. When explaining the situation to the superintendent, I was told that if I could get an email from the High Commission at the Pakistani embassy confirming it was clear for me to travel, they could let me travel on the scheduled trip. I contacted my host, Anil Anwar, in Pakistan explaining the situation and asked him to send a confirmation of my invitation visit to Rahim Yar Khan to Mr. Sadul Khan, the station manager at the airport, and gave him his email address, and also send a copy to me. The difficulty was that it was Sunday and most official offices were closed. As soon as I received the copy email from Anwar containing my invitation, I sent it to Suella Fernandez, my MP, asking her to endorse our request for me to visit Pakistan. At 4 p.m, the station manager informed me they had not received an email from the High Commission, so I would not be able to travel. I was advised that if I go to the Pakistani embassy in London at Lourdes Square on Monday and request an emergency visa, then I could travel on a plane at 5 p.m. on Monday evening to Islamabad and then make my own way to Rahim Yar Khan, as they were not able to make a connecting flight for me on the 23rd of February. Thankfully, I was able to travel to London on the express train to Paddington and then a taxi to Mayfair and stay the night with my friend Simon MacDonald. On Monday the 22nd, at 9:15, I travelled by taxi to the Pakistan embassy and was admitted at 10 a.m, only to be informed that I would have to go to Stratford in London and make an application for the visa. I then took a taxi to the visa office at 235 Stratford High Street in London. En route to the Stratford office, the taxi driver asked me about my travelling. He was a Londoner, and I was able to tell him about my mission and my brief story of conversion from crime to Christ and our work in the Philippines. He was very interested and asked where he could get a copy of my book, Converted on LSD Trip, so I gave him a card with the details. I arrived at Stratford and filled in the appropriate visa application form, only to find that I needed 2 photographs for the application. I was then directed to the post office a mile away in order to have my photographs taken. I had to lug my baggage all the way there and all the way back, which wore me out. But on return I was told I needed the invitation from my host in Pakistan printed on an A4 sheet of paper, and also my final 1-month bank statements. I was then directed back to the post office a mile away, where I was told I could get this printed information that Anil had sent to my email address and also my bank statements. Then I was informed that I had 1 hour to do this, until 1:30 p.m, as the office would then close. I realised I didn't have much time to wait, so I went across the road to the Holiday Inn Express, asked if I could print out my emails on their printer and also the bank statements. This they kindly gave permission. This I was able to do by 1:27 p.m, and I then rushed across the road to the visa office at 235 Stratford High Street and made my application. I was the last in the office and it was just about to close. To my disappointment, I was told they could not process an emergency application, but they informed me to go to see Mr. Mazhar at the High Commission in the embassy, as he was the only one able to grant such a visa. It was 1:45 p.m. I needed to get back to the embassy in London in order to get the visa, and then on to Heathrow Airport for 4 o'clock to board the 5 p.m. flight via Paddington. So I took a taxi that was recommended to me by the visa office in Stratford. En route, I realised the taxi driver was a Muslim, and he asked me about my travelling, and I explained that I was seeking to travel to Pakistan. He then asked if I could explain certain things to him about Christianity and who Jesus was. He then showed me his collection of YouTube videos of a Muslim preacher, Dr. Zakir Naik, and I listened to what he had to say. He was very articulate and quoted a lot from the Bible, and I began to realise I needed to address these issues that he was raising, and this I must do at the conference in Rahim Yar Khan. On arrival at the embassy at 2:30 p.m, I gave my visa application to the man I was directed to, and I was asked to wait after explaining that I was due to travel at 5 p.m. that day. I was told that my visa would take 5 days to process. I felt so disappointed having travelled so far and done so much work to get this visa. During my visit, several Muslims from the embassy had a prayer meeting or prayer session on the floor in front of me, including the man dealing with my visa application. And this reminded me of the time that I had with my Muslim students who prayed with me in a similar manner at Luton College all those years ago. And this I mentioned in my book, Converted on LSD Trip, chapter 16.92, titled Muslim Want to Convert Me. It was then confirmed that I could not get the visa, and I realised I had to recover my visa application, as the dates I had submitted would be out of date in 5 days' time. I sent word back to Anil immediately, telling of the disappointment, and that I was going back to the airline ticket office in Heathrow to see if I could postpone my flight till another day, which was confirmed by the Pakistani International Airline. Anil then suggested the conference be postponed to a more convenient time, to which I agreed. I was then able to return to Fareham by coach, making the appropriate arrangements with the ticket office to bring my return ticket forward from the 1st of March to that day. Conclusion. Remembering Romans chapter 8, verse 28, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. Point 1. I was reminded that in all our arrangements we should say, as James says 4 verse 15, for that ye ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this and do that. In other words, all our arrangements are subject to the Lord's will. 2. It was an omission on my part to check the visa details, the visa qualification. It was an omission on my part to check those visa requirements that I needed to travel. 3. I was able to forward the letter of invitation to Anil, the letter of invitation that Anil had sent me to Suella Fernandez MP, informing her of my visit to Pakistan, to the Pakistan Peace Conference, which was a good thing. 4. I was able to see with more clarity the nature and subject matter that I needed to speak about with respect to Muslims on my visit to Pakistan, God willing, in the future. Thanks be to God for all his goodness to us. February 23rd, 2016. Conclusion. Remembering Romans 8, verse 28, and we know that all things work together for good, to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. First thing, I was reminded then that in all our arrangements we should always say, as James says in 4:15, for that ye ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this and that, and so on. So we should always wait upon the Lord. 2. It was an omission on my part to check that the visa qualifications were in order. 3. I was able to forward a letter of invitation to Suella Fernandez MP that confirmed my invitation and visit to Pakistan Peace Conference, which was a good thing. 4. I was alerted to the fact that my passport needed renewing in June 2016, so I have applied for a 10-year renewal today, which means I can be more flexible on future arrangements for travelling. 5. I was able to see with more clarity the nature and subject matter that I needed to speak about at the conference with respect to Muslims during my visit to Pakistan.